All right, greetings. We're back. We never were, but we're back from being never were. How y'all doing? Good to see you. Yeah, glitch is exactly right. I don't know. Rumble Studio is cool, but it has issues. And one of those issues is it glitches out. It glitches out, and once it glitches out, there's no getting it back. And I've had that happen, I don't know how many times in the last 2 weeks, so it's kind of getting a little old. Time to seek something else, I think. We'll see. But we're here. We're live. Live on Rockfin, live on Rumble, live on YouTube. Good to see you. And I really, love starting late when I have a lot of things to cover. Like a lot of things to cover. Hopefully you can hear me. Y'all can hear me, yes? If you can't hear me, let me know. Hold on. Just wanted to. So I don't know. Tariffs happened over the weekend, or were announced Friday. There was lots of stock market dropping because of the tariffs. Everybody's forgot about the plane crashes already. Not totally, but it just seems like it's been a few days and already, it's time for something else. And there's a lot of something else. Because Trump seems to be moving quickly, whatever he's doing. The good, the bad, and the ugly. And it's mostly ugly. Although for, some people are like, we just cannot stop winning. To some people, all of this looks super amazing. So it might depend on your point of view. I don't know. I try to stay fairly clued into, I guess, several opinions, and there's extremism on both sides, and I see plenty of the left on Facebook and Twitter, just um, and they have reasons. That's fine. Um, but most, the left is like a lot of people on the left are like, if you are somehow trying to listen to the other side or have a different opinion or be neutral or uh, be balanced in your opinion, you're somehow, just you're a non-entity, you're an enemy. Um, well, because only the extreme views will fly here. I don't know. I'm not on Rockfin. Oh, hold on. No, hold on. No, I'm on Rockfin. Refresh the page or go to a different, like, for those that want to watch on Rockfin, either refresh the page or go out of that page and come back into the video from the front page, from the Black Bear News page. Try that and see if it works. It's going on my Rockfin here. I'm going and I have sound. Or no? Yeah, I'm going and I have sound. So just I don't know. Sorry if you're having issues. But try again. Try again. Refresh the page or go back out, go out and go back in. Or don't. Or just hang out on YouTube if you want. But it's up to you. Rumble is also an option. He's raising the war levy. Maybe 12 still missing from the airplane. John Glad. Okay. I'm not saying everybody's moved on. I've just, and maybe it's just me. I haven't gotten any, not seeing any updates on that. But thank you for the update, John Glad. I appreciate it. Okay. Man, it's taking a long time to get in the show. First thing, this is breaking. And I believe this happened last time Trump was president. Again, we're getting a lot of like the rerun, not rerun from what's happening, but reruns. Um, Reruns on the Trump administration, where he's doing a lot of the same playbook and with the same results. Um, there's different wrinkles happening this time, though, for sure. This is U.S. tariffs imposed on Mexico have been paused for a month, so they came in, they came out. Why? Because Mexico agreed to send troops to the border to help stifle drug trafficking. So some people are saying, well, I guess these tariffs are working, since the point of the tariffs was to put pressure on Mexico to do what we wanted. And you might think, working as in, working doesn't necessarily mean good. Working means effective, right? I guess there was a desired result, and the result was achieved. The tariffs have been paused, so I guess they did what they were. I guess they did what they were intended to do. I don't know. Here we go.
Hi, I'm Diane Macedo. We have breaking news. Mexico's president now says President Trump's tariffs are paused for a month. President Trump confirmed the pause, saying Mexico will reinforce the border with 10,000 National Guard troops immediately as part of the negotiations. Let's go to ABC's Elizabeth Schulze on Wall Street, Matt Rivers in Mexico City, and Karen Travers at the White House. Matt, how significant is this deal, and what else came out of this conversation?
Well, this was the off-ramp that I think a lot of people had been hoping for. This is why this call was scheduled before this happened. And I think both sides will claim this as a win. The tariffs now being suspended for 1 month. President Sheinbaum coming out saying that President Trump agreed with her her suggestion that she would send 10,000 additional National Guard troops to the northern border. The big reason why the Trump administration says that they want these tariffs in place is essentially leverage to force Mexico to do more to stop the flow, the very large flow of fentanyl from here in Mexico to the United States, as well as migration, even though the numbers that migrants that we've been seeing go to the U.S. much lower than we've seen before. So President Sheinbaum essentially saying, okay, we'll reinforce the border with 10,000 troops. If all of this sounds familiar, it's because it's exactly what happened the last time President Trump threatened tariffs against Mexico. He did so against President Lopez Obrador back in 2019. Lopez Obrador responded by sending troops to the northern border. So it remains to be seen what difference this will actually make at the border. But this is clearly something that both sides will point to as a win. We kick the can down the road again in a month, and we'll have this conversation here on ABC News Live in 1 month from today.
All right, so that that happened. Let's see. If anybody could come over to Rockfin and tell me if it's working, that would be great. I think I tried to reconfigure the stream there, but maybe it's not working. Sorry if it's not working. I mean, maybe all of this is just massive insider trading, right? You do things to shock the markets. You create opportunities for the traders, not the little ones, the big ones. And everybody gets rich quick, I guess. I don't know. He also said about the tariffs that people would be feeling some pain, which is interesting because people are feeling a lot of pain. The reason why Trump was elected is because people were feeling a lot of pain. Hold on. Right? And so oh well, I can't really see this. That's okay. Anyways, Trump said you'll feel some pain. Rockfin is going now? Great. Okay, so anybody who wants to watch on Rockfin, it's going now. Sorry, I don't know what happened. No, it seems like people are watching on Rockfin. Okay. Extra Bull is on Rockfin. Osama's on Rockfin. It seems to be working. Yeah, so it's kind of a weird message there, right, from Trump. To impose these tariffs that are supposed, I guess he's saying they're going to have a long-term effect. I guess that's the point. We're going to feel some pain, but eventually things will come around. I don't know. Meanwhile, Musk's DOGE team, Department of Government Efficiency, has taken over. Oh, come on, man. Don't make me do this. No, I'll do it later, fool. Took over USAid. and I believe some other offices of the government. But we're going to look at this first. Senior USAid officials put on leave after denying access to Musk's DOGE team. After standoff, DOGE members gained control over access system, letting them lock out workers and read emails. Yikes. Give me 1 second. Two senior security officials at the U.S. Agency for International Development have been put on administrative leave after they blocked efforts by members of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to access sensitive data from the agency. Well, that's interesting, Denver. We'll get to that in just one moment. International Development have been put on administrative leave after they blocked efforts by members of Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency to access sensitive data from the agency. 5 current and former USAid officials have told The Guardian the demands led to a tense standoff, during which a senior deputy to Musk threatened to call the U.S. Marshals in to grant access to the building. The officials said John Voorhees, USAid's director of security, and a deputy blocked efforts by members of DOGE, a special group that Trump has created to physically access restricted areas. The confrontation and Voorhees' suspension was first reported by CNN and confirmed by USAid officials. The DOGE officials gained control over the access control system, which would allow them to lock out employees and read emails. They also sought personal files and turnstile data, 2 people said. Musk's deputies may also have sought access to sensitive compartmented information facilities or SCIFs and servers used to access sensitive cables with top secret classifications. 4 members of DOGE have been granted regular access to USAid, as the administration has suspended dozens of senior staff and furloughed hundreds more at the Bureau for Humanitarian Assistance who help the agency respond to urgent crises around the world. Katie Miller, who serves on the advisory board for DOGE and is married to Trump's deputy chief of staff, Stephen Miller, wrote on X that no classified material was accessed without proper security clearances, following an AP report that DOGE officials did manage to access the materials, which included intelligence reports. The DOGE crew lacked high enough security clearance to access the information, the Newswire reported. USAid continued to abruptly suspend career staffers through Sunday, with the majority of staff in the Legislative and Public Affairs Bureau cut off from their email. More than 100 career staffers at USAid have now been put on administrative leave, according to reports confirmed to The Guardian by 1 current and 1 former USAid official. USAid is the world's largest single donor. In fiscal year 2023, the U.S. dispersed $72 billion of assistance worldwide on everything from women's health in conflict zones to access to clean water, HIV/AIDS treatment, energy security, and anti-corruption work. That's funny. That's a knee slapper. They provided because, yeah. Well, so I'm gonna. It's just kind of giving you an overview, but apparently they're going to fold USAid into the State Department, which may or not make any difference. There's a lot of acknowledgement that USAid is absolutely corrupt. And so the idea is that doing this is going to shut down corruption, but not necessarily, right? This could just move the corruption elsewhere or make it easier to do the corrupt things without having a whole different department doing it. Anyways, um, Denver says the story about the Treasury official is a distraction from the fact BlackRock does and has run the Treasury for a long time. Yeah, so there's a lot of talk on both sides. Some people are cheering this. Some people are saying this isn't what it looks like it's going to be. Um, I'm just going to urge that there are a lot of takes out there. Try and take in all of them. The eventual outcome of all of this is not yet known yet. Not yet known, right? We don't know uh, which way this is going to fall. But considering that Trump is he's an inside guy. He's not an outside guy. I doubt this is going to make a change for the better. That's just my personal opinion. You may think differently. Results may vary. Uh, so, the thing here is that the thing to acknowledge is that USAID is absolutely, behind some very corrupt things. There's a heavy CIA involvement in USAID. So when people, there's going to be a lot of people out there going, "Oh, just the good people that, that one paragraph about how they just help people around the world." Um, the idea that USAID is just this benevolent entity just helping people is bullshit. It's actually bullshit. So to take the side of like, well, they're just good people just trying to do their best. No, not all, I'm not saying all are bad people, but I'm sure there are people in there trying to do good things. I'm sure that USA does fund some benevolent and beneficial things. But I'm going to show you there are, people out there who know their stuff, very knowledgeable people telling you that USAID is up to some very not so great things, very corrupt. So it's not, this is not, that's why it's just hard to come down on the side of like, well, this is all bad and the good people at USAID are getting locked out. No, maybe they should be locked out. But the result of this is not necessarily maybe something to cheer. So it's like, we're in a messed up place. We're between a rock and a hard place because we have already existed in a fascist, corrupt system, and we're being given like a 3-card Monty, like, oh well, you can get out of the corrupt system if you go with these people who are deeply embedded in the system and wish to make it even more corrupt. So there's no really easy way out of this, and I'm sorry, voting for Biden and Kamala not going to change that. If you thought that would stave this off, wrong again. But there's no easy way out of this. The only way sorry, I'm kind of getting over a cold. The only way to stave this off, to really do something substantial about the corruption and the massiveness of the corruption and the problem, is if somebody who really didn't have the ties to the outside, who was really, able to buck the system, who was really able to go up against APAC, who was really able to go up against the CIA, who was really able to, right? Somebody would have to jump a lot of hurdles. That's the problem, is that to really create, substantial, real foundational change, somebody would have to jump the hurdles that are almost insurmountable to jump, right? You'd have to jump the hurdles of mass media and Mockingbird Press and CIA and intelligence agencies and all kinds of things, even to get into a position of trying to create change. So anyways, let's keep going. So that's just kind of an overview of what's going on. Uh, and I'm trying to, going to have to go through this a little quicker. More on this. DOGE gains access to sensitive Treasury payment systems. So, people are concerned about that. And Elon Musk for one thing, Elon Musk is a government subsidized contractor. He is not an outsider. He is all the way up in the inside of everything. So the idea that he's, some kind of outsider, the idea that Trump is an outsider is, goofy. The Department of Government Efficiency, run by President Trump's billionaire advisor, Elon Musk, has gained access to sensitive Treasury data, including Social Security and Medicare customer payment systems, according to two people familiar with the situation. That's not good. This is not good. Only bad things can come from this, I'm sure. The move by DOGE, a Trump administration task force assigned to find ways to fire federal workers, cut programs, and slash federal regulations, means it could have wide leeway to access important taxpayer data, among other things. And really the upshot of slashing all of these entities and workers and program. I mean, there's going to be less. Is DOGE going to bring more oversight or less oversight is the question. And that's really like the bottom line of what's going on, right? Oh yeah, Judy. Yeah, absolutely. The idea that this is going to bring more or better oversight, I think, is pretty childish, right? I don't know, I don't trust Elon Musk or Trump to do the right thing with this, with this move. Again, we don't know what the outcome of this is going to be. We don't know how far this is going to go. We don't know the extent of this entire operation, and we're not going to know, for a little while. We're not going to know like how deep this is going to cut. I imagine pretty deep. Anyways, New York Times first reported the news of the group's access to massive federal payment systems. Highest ranking Democrat on the Senate Finance Committee, Ron Wyden of Oregon, on Friday sent a letter to Trump's Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, expressing concern that officials associated with Musk may have intended to access these payment systems to illegally withhold payments to any number of programs. They do intend to withhold payments. That's absolutely true. That's not a if. They're planning to withhold payments to certain, especially USAid. USAid, they're intending to stop the payment on several of the programs. To put it bluntly, these payment systems simply cannot fail, and any politically motivated meddling in them risks severe damage to our country and economy. The news also comes after Treasury's acting Deputy Secretary David Liebrick resigned from his position at Treasury after more than 30 years of service. The Washington Post on Friday reported that Liebrick resigned his position after Musk and his DOGE organization requested access to sensitive Treasury data. Fiscal Service performs some of the most vital functions in government. Liebrick said in a letter to Treasury, it's so difficult because, you don't, I don't expect good things to come from this, but you really have to know that the system as it existed or exists is absolutely fundamentally, doing some shady business. You know, so it's hard for me to cheer on either side, but they're absolutely fundamentally doing shady business, right? A lot of these agencies are doing very, very shady stuff. Cynthia McKinney, back in the day, hero, anti-establishment hero, Cynthia McKinney from Georgia, um, famously called out these, I think it was USAid, and what was the contractor, DynCorp, being involved in human trafficking and other things. She famously called, so they've been involved in dirty stuff for a long time. So it's hard to like defend, you know, these entities as they exist. You want to actually kind of take them down a few notches, or at least try to like figure out what's going on and clean house. But I just don't know if these are the people to do it. Pretty sure they're not. That's what makes this like such a weird kind of situation. Um, Musk on Saturday responded to a post on his social media platform X about the departure of Librick. The DOGE team discovered, among other things, that payment approval officers at Treasury were instructed to always approve payments, even to known fraudulent or terrorist groups. They literally never denied a payment in their entire career, not even once. He did not provide proof for this claim, however. So, again, take everything, with just a huge dose of skepticism. Like it up, guys. Thanks, Poppy. Appreciate it. Yeah, we got a few people watching today. Rockfin's back. All right, people are watching on Rockfin. That's cool. People are watching on Rumble. That's cool. All right, so let's and there's also the DEI news. So there's a lot to cover. Hold on one second. I'm trying to get to some more things about the USAid story. This is Mike Benz. After the CIA scandals of the 1970s, most of the CIA work pumping up and funding media outlets all over the world was moved over to USAid, where it remains to this day. So USAid became basically Operation Mockingbird, outsourced by the CIA, which USAid still spends billions each year maintaining and expanding its captured media empire. The CIA, Reuters, and the production of fake news. Let's listen.
From the CIA's headquarters, Stockwell sent his propagandists to Britain, Portugal, Zambia, and Zaire. Far from the battlefield in Angola, they wrote news releases for the two Western-backed factions, and these were fed into the ticker tapes of the Western media. Stockwell's CIA man also wined and dined Western journalists and gave them personal briefings. His man in Zambia was particularly enthusiastic.
He ran a story that the city of Malanje had been captured by the UNITA forces, and in doing so, it captured 20 Russian advisors. And they thought this would show that Russians were running the thing in Angola. There weren't Russian advisors. It wasn't a factor, and we knew that.
But the story did well. The Toronto Star, like many newspapers, picked it up from Reuters news agency.
I remember reporting that very clearly.
Fred Berglund was the Reuters reporter who filed the story from Zambia.
Years later, I discovered that a little CIA misinformation expert had sat in the U.S. Embassy in Lusaka and had composed that communique, and it bore absolutely no relationship at all to truth. You've got to remember, at that stage, during a war, you're working under incredible pressure. I worked for 4 months without a day off for 16 hours a day. And all that was wanted was a flow of information. I mean, I'd done the same in the Middle East war. I was based in Damascus. I mean, in the first week of the war in Damascus, I wiped out the Israeli Air Force 3 times over with official statements.
Reuters, with its headquarters here on London's Fleet Street, is one of the world's largest news agencies. Its international bureaus provide many newspapers with their only source of news from far parts of the globe.
Well, I mean, with hindsight, some of the official statements from the side I was reporting, and I stress from the side I was reporting, but also from the side that people in Luanda with the MPLA were reporting, clearly most of those statements were completely false.
The CIA man in Zambia soon came up with an even better story.
It was all fiction.
Fiction, maybe, but it showed up on the front page of papers like the Toronto Star.
All right.
The Toronto Globe and Mail also.
You get the idea there. This is John Curacao saying he knew and investigated and found out that the USAid was involved in the funding of heroin production in Afghanistan.
I went to Afghanistan to do a study on the heroin poppy crop. And I'll tell you, nobody liked it. Afghanistan used to be a net food exporter. And as soon as the U.S. takes over, they're producing 93% of the world's heroin.
That's right.
I'd like to know how the fuck that happened. I get to Bagram Air Base and I said, I'm going to need a helicopter to Lashkar Gah. We get down there and it's a god-awful place. But man, I'm telling you, as far as your eye can see, all there is poppy. So I make an appointment to go to this DEA secret site. And they were like, you're in over your head. There are very powerful forces that want that poppy to be cultivated. And I said, why? It's 93% of the world's heroin. And they said, because almost all of that heroin goes to Iran and to Russia. And we want them to be addicted to heroin. It weakens their societies. I'm writing all this up. And Carrie's like, nah, we're not publishing that. And I was like, they got to him too.
All right. It's John Curacao. Believe him or not. We're going to get to Whitney Webb in a second. Let's see. There's one more. Here's Max Bloom. No, there's not one more. There's several more. Trying to get through this so we can move on to another story. There's so many. Former fake Venezuelan President Juan Guaido is one of the largest single recipients of USAID support in recent years. You can see him below with members of the Colombian narco cartel, Los Rastrojos, who assisted USAID's aid stunt on the Venezuelan border in 2019. So there you go. That's Max Blumenthal telling you, just giving you insight into why it would be that people want to defund or decommission USAID. Okay, so let's get to Whitney Webb, just for time's sake. For people saying Elon is trustworthy and USAID is bad, do you guys remember Elon's "We will coup whoever we want"? Remember. Elon Musk is a member. We will coup whoever we want. Deal with it statement over the 2019 coup in lithium-rich Bolivia that he was poised to benefit from. Even if USAID is completely dismantled, that certainly does not mean that regime change ops will stop. Oligarchs can just fund them directly. They largely control the controversial NGOs that USAID funded anyway. Sorry for raining on the parade, but handing over major government ops to intelligence and military-linked oligarchs is unlikely to be the win against the deep state you think it is. It is ultimately a deeper centralization of power, and historically that doesn't end well. By the way, let me see. I want to find. Let's see. Oh, here's another one from Whitney Webb. Probably going to go just a couple minutes late today, guys. Oh, I see what's happening here. Until DOGE or any other aspect of Trump's administration meaningfully addresses FASAB S56, which literally allows the U.S. government to cook its own books to enable secret black budget projects, I will remain skeptical that it truly intends to rein in runaway spending and the misuse of taxpayer funds. By the way, this came into effect under Trump in his last administration. One of the things that people didn't know happened or weren't concentrating on. They were concentrating on other things like impeaching him for a call to Ukraine. But this kind of stuff was stuff that nobody paid attention to, except for maybe Whitney Webb or others. Just quickly here, a preliminary overview. This is from Grok. FASB, officially known as Statement of Federal Financial Accounting Standards 56, classified activities, was issued by the Federal Accounting Standards Advisory Board, FASAB, or FASAB. This statement fundamentally alters how federal entities can report their finances by allowing them to modify or omit financial information in publicly issued financial reports to protect classified national security information, shift amounts from one line item to another, or completely omit spending if it's related to classified activities, create two sets of financial statements, one for public consumption that might be modified or less detailed, and another accurate set only accessible to those with appropriate security clearances. The introduction of S56 in October 2018 has sparked significant concern over transparency in government spending. Critics argue that it legalizes secret defense spending, allowing the government to keep two sets of books, one for public view with potentially misleading information and another true account kept confidential. I feel like that's already been going on for several years, by the way. This has been criticized for diminishing the credibility of public budget documents. It's actually been going on for quite a while. They issue, fake financial statements, and then 3 months later, they retract or amend those statements to show the true numbers. But nobody's paying attention then. It's already done the damage, or whatever. It's already made, or it's already, gone out to the media and done the intended propaganda that they wanted it to do. And then later on, they go like, "Oh yeah, that wasn't correct." That's been going on for a really long time. Anyways, this just makes it easier to do that for them. Kind of like the Smith Modernization Act, right? Makes it easier to propagandize people and hide what the government is actually doing, obfuscate what the government is doing. All right. Excuse me. DEI is also in the news. Trump, hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. I'm getting coughing attacks. Trump rolls back. God dang it. Come on, man. Come on. Let's try it again. Is this no, this isn't the one. This isn't the one. Get the right one. Trump rolls back bedrock civil rights measure and sweeping anti-DEI push. President Trump issued a sweeping executive order Tuesday night revoking decades of diversity and affirmative action practices in federal government. Why it matters. This takes the current anti-DEI activism on diversity, equity, and inclusion to a new level, abolishing decades of government standards on diversity and equal opportunity and seeking to crack down on the same in the private sector. Trump's order revokes one that President Johnson signed on September 25th, 1965, more than 2 years after Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. gave his I Have a Dream speech at the Lincoln Memorial. LBJ's order gave the Secretary of Labor the authority to ensure equal opportunity for people of color and women in federal contractors' recruitment, hiring, training, and other employment practices. It required federal contractors to refrain from employment discrimination and take affirmative action to ensure equal opportunity based on race, color, religion, and national origin. The order came more than a year after Johnson signed the Civil Rights Act of 1964 and just months after he signed the Voting Rights Act, following violent attacks on voting rights advocates in Selma, Alabama. Well, the right-wing libertarian think tank agenda has succeeded. And when they gut Social Security and Medicare, and that could happen in the next, couple of years, then they will fully have rolled back everything that FDR and, following presidents, put into practice as far as policies meant to protect people, to protect to equalize, people's footing in the marketplace and in life in general, to equalize the workplace and try to, protect workers and workers' rights and civil rights. We have fully, we're almost rolled all the way back to the 30s now. Just a few more things, and they're going to gut those as well. And this is, this is what you get, I guess, when you support, when you just go full libertarian, and I don't know. I think there was a quote from Tropic Thunder about going full libertarian, or there was another word for that. I mean, I think this is I don't know. This is lame bullshit. This has been, stuff that's been encoded kind of in the practice of, upholding equal rights for decades. So, this is a subject for me. This is a policy platform for me of the Trump administration that I'm just like, this doesn't really have anything to do with anything as far as whether things are running correctly or not. So this, this one for me is, I don't know. Trump is saying that he's restoring civil rights by making this move as far as having equal, equality in the workplace. He's calling affirmative action and DEI standards as discrimination. Some people might, and there are people out there that agree with that. I'm not one of those people, but let's read. James Lee has a take on this. And I think that he is trying to be, measured and balanced in this take. I read through this. I think he's trying to be measured and balanced. I'm not sure that I totally agree with this. Anyways, DEI is one of the most polarizing topics today. Some say it's essential to strengthening America. Others are blaming it for causing disasters and death. you know, no, I just don't get that argument. I'm sorry. It doesn't make any sense. Affirmative action has been around for a long time and has not been, you know, has not been causing disaster and death, in uh and how things operate. I'm sorry, it just doesn't. And I just, yeah, I don't really get this one. What if both sides are missing the point? All right, so here are my unsolicited thoughts. Okay, in the past month, Trump has blamed DEI for making the LA fires worse and speculated that caused the tragic collision of military helicopter with the American Airlines flight. Is DEI really to blame, or has DEI just lost sight of what it was supposed to be? Jackie Robinson broke the MLB color barrier, not because Branch Rickey wanted the Dodgers to have a black player, but because he was elite. Actually, that's wrong. That's actually false. They did want to break the color barrier, but he was a good player. They had to bring, like, one of the. It wasn't also just about him being an elite player. It was about him having a certain mental and emotional makeup that would, allow him to withstand the difficulties he was going to face. And but I know all about this story of how Jackie Robinson was. I used to be. I'm still a baseball fan, but I used to be, when I growing up, I was a huge baseball fan. I was a huge Jackie Robinson fan, and I read his biography, autobiography, everything about this story. So they were ahead of their time as far as like fulfilling an equal rights, civil rights ideal of in the nation. The Dodgers were ahead of their time, and they should be applauded for that. But yeah, they were there was racism, there was segregation in place, and they were keeping out legitimately talented players because they were black, which was wrong. It was wrong. But they intended to break that barrier. That was an intentional thing. So they were looking for a black player, but they were looking for somebody who could, withstand the slings and the arrows. But that was a noble cause. That was a just and noble cause. It was the right thing to do. So there's, whatever. Let's keep going. Anyways, he brought him along because he was elite, not necessarily just because he was elite. That's what DEI should be about: opening doors, not lowering the bar. Same with Althea Gibson. She was an elite talent, but black players weren't allowed in major tournaments. She finally got a shot after a former champion, Alice Marble, spoke out for her. And once she stepped on the court, she dominated with 11 career Grand Slam titles, merit won. So he's championing a merit-based system, which is if you have the talent and the know-how and the will and the fortitude and the skills, then you go forward. Which I agree with, which is how it should be, which is how, how Martin Luther King described it, right? People are judged on the content of their character or their skills or their, right? Not the color of their skin, which is how it should be. I agree with that. But modern DEI isn't just about removing barriers, it's about ideology. A Maryland nurse named Brad McDowell was fired for questioning DEI on his personal social media. Last I checked, the Hippocratic Oath says first do no harm, not first administer DEI. Yeah, I mean, I do think it's a little weird that people can't, hold opinions or have free speech. The, I'm a free speech advocate, so I don't think like questioning policies or questioning what's going on or questioning should lead to your termination. I believe that's wrong. Get the girl to check the numbers. Before orbiting Earth, astronaut John Glenn insisted Katherine Johnson verify the math for his mission, not because she was she was black or a woman, but because she was the best. She didn't need a quota, she needed a chance. Now, compare that to what's happening in modern science. It's now policy that NIH funds universities based on DEI hiring. And some schools even penalize candidates for saying they'll treat everyone the same. That's not inclusion, it's discrimination. Fair point, James Lee. The reality is DEI policies just don't work. A Harvard Business Review study found most corporate DEI training doesn't work. In some cases, it actually worsens racial tensions. Meanwhile, U.S. companies are spending $8 billion a year on it. Where's the return? Here's the bottom line. Removing barriers is good. Lowering standards is bad. Jackie Robinson wasn't handed a spot in the majors. He earned it. That should be the model, not quotas, forced ideology, or rewriting history. What do you think? DEI is just a label for it. Anyway, so it's an okay take by James Lee. I agree with some of the things he's saying there. However, on affirmative action and DEI, the point is to, you're reversing, whatever you want to call it, 150 years or 200 years or 400 years of racial discrimination, redlining, mistreatment, being boxed. Black families, overall black wealth is still, incredibly, non-existent compared to white people. So, I feel like there's still a case to be made for affirmative action. I feel like there's still a case to be made for helping people who have been generationally harmed and traumatized with slavery, racism, Jim Crow, right? Being basically boxed out of job opportunities and housing opportunities and business opportunities for decades and decades and decades, and you could say centuries, right? So I don't necessarily see a problem with it. I just see a problem with it when it goes, kind of off the rails, right? Where people cannot be, if you're not judged on the basis of your merit or your basis of qualifications, I don't know if that's necessarily, or when people are blackballed, fired, deplatformed, censored, for having questions. I think that's a little bit over the line, but I'm for continuing to try to equalize the playing field. Anyways, right. John Glad, the best person for the job is an ideal, but it usually is not the case. Sushi says people can post all day long, in my opinion, but I don't think DEI is a problem. Capitalism and imperialism is a problem. Right? Sure. Yeah, Jackie Robinson had to endure some very, very physical threats, verbal. I mean, emotional. He suffered a lot to break that barrier, right? And obviously, people suffered intensely prior to civil rights laws being passed, and these affirmative action laws being passed. People suffered immensely. People suffered in poverty, and and suffered all kinds of mistreatment. So there's still ways to go on that, right? We have police still kill black people, hand over fist. There's still, a massive amount of extrajudicial killings by police against black people. This happens all the time. Black people still make up a disproportionate amount of the prison population. There's also that. And that can't necessarily be blamed on, people don't have opportunities. People don't have resources. People don't have, right? They don't have the care, the resources, the understanding. back in the day, right? Bernie Sanders, who once was a champion of civil rights and whatnot, and for just causes, and was not a complete sellout. Bernie Sanders, remember during the three strikes debates in Congress, was railing against people like Joe Biden and others who were trying to pass the three strikes laws and saying this was, unfair, and that, what people needed was resources, help, help out of their situation. They didn't need punishment. They needed help, and they still need help. Everyone needs help. All kinds of people need help more than ever these days, more than ever. Veterans, homeless, people who are, have lived in poverty for generations. Everyone needs help. But we seem to be going in the opposite direction. So thanks again, Think Tank Libertarian Agenda. Thanks again, the ghost of Rush Limbaugh. You've done it again. All right. Let's keep going. There's no way I'm going to finish everything today because I'm already running overtime. Yeah, I'm not, the rolling back of the DEI thing, I just am not. I don't see the point, honestly. But there are many different takes on this, so, hold on one second. It's interesting. In LA, there were massive protests around the crackdown on immigrants. And where is this? And apparently there was the protests in LA were so large that the cops vacated the area. I guess they were overwhelmed. Apparently, the firefighters lost all their funding, so that they lost a good portion of their funding to give it all to the police department, and this is how the police department reacts. I'm not necessarily supporting the police department, by the way, but I just think it's kind of ironic, right? Oh, okay. I've never, in my 7 years of covering protests across the nation, but especially in Los Angeles, witness what I just saw right now. Journalists are puzzled as to what just happened. As LAPD were about to make arrests, all of the police officers just left. I've never seen anything like this. Hundreds of police with zip ties. Hundreds of police with zip ties. All of them have just left. No arrests. Protesters shouting victories. Police leave the area. That's interesting. Anybody have a take on this? Somebody says, who made the call? Yeah, somebody had to direct the police to do this. I wonder. And then there's down here, LAPD just re-arrived to the location where protesters have remained gathered by the hundreds. It appears they will once again restart their crowd control tactics, asking the crowd to disperse. I don't know. They had to go get backups. I don't know. Anyways, the protests were very massive. And it happened in several cities over the weekend, not just LA, Atlanta, saw a few other places. You're melting, Bella? Don't melt. They were blocking the 101. Yep. Let's see. Let's watch this from Ben Norton. I was gonna play. Oh, geez, we're going late today. Real quick, just if you want to know what kind of major weather nonsense is going on. North Queensland, devastating floods in Australia are happening. Devastating. Sicily, still getting it. And paying attention to this record global heat. Even though we're in a La Nina, so that does not bode well. Temperatures are not cooling down once the La Nina conditions were reestablished. That climate scientists said would imply something quite bad. Well, yeah. Warmest January on record at 1.75 C above pre-industrial, beating the prior record set in 2024. Yes. We have blown past 1.5, not coming back. It's La Nina now. The next El Nino is obviously going to turn that up a little more. Okay, let's watch this from Ben Norton, and then I gotta take off, guys. Oh, by the way, if you like the show, you want to support the show, you enjoy the show coming to you for free 99. If you want to support the show, there's lots of ways to do it. There's links and whatnot in the description box of every platform that you're watching on. All the usuals are there: PayPal, Venmo, Cash App, Coffees, Ko-Fi, Patreon, and on and on. And many of you support the channel already. You know who you are, and I thank you. I thank you. I thank you. Yeah, I mean, definitely. Oh, good comments on Rockfin. Hold on. Gene Whitworth, for sure, they're wiping their ass on the Constitution. Biggest case in point is the treason in favor of Israel. Yeah, right. So supposedly we're gonna make America great again, but only if Israel lets us. Only if they approve. And that doesn't make any sense, right? Octo says they are criminals. They know it. We know it. Trump knows it. He is trying to weed them out. So you think he's trying to weed them out? Okay. How many DEI hires in the police? I don't know. I know that there's a shortage of police, but I mean, the police seem fairly diverse. I think that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing. You want to be represented by the people that you look like. You don't. I don't have a problem with that. In general, workers are getting poorer and the police budgets are going up. You know, no matter what they look like or what, you know. Anyways, I was gonna play one more video and then I'm gonna go. Ben Norton, and we'll have to bring some of these articles, but I just got too many things. You know, I have too many things in my list of things to cover. But while Donald Trump supporters falsely claim he is an isolationist, he is threatening to colonize the Panama Canal. Don't forget that. So apparently, they went down and made a deal and got the Panama Canal back. Pretty much. Threatening to colonize the Panama Canal, annex Canada, and take over Greenland and its rare earth elements, Trump's team is discussing plans to invade Mexico, bomb Iran, and wage economic war on China. Yep, he's doing all these things. So it's, you know, more imperialism disguised as isolationism. And what did I say? Like, I wouldn't be surprised if we invaded Mexico over some kind of under some pretense of trying to get the cartels or whatever. So there was a shootout between the cartels and Border Patrol like last week, which I thought was like, oh, there's, you know, there they go. They're going to set it up. We're going to have to go in there and get them cartel people out, but we probably won't leave. All right, let's see.
There's a popular narrative claiming that Donald Trump is supposedly an isolationist who's against war and intervention. In order to believe this, you have to ignore his extremely hawkish foreign policy during Trump's first term, when he killed the top Iranian general Qasem Soleimani and tried to overthrow the Iranian government. He also killed a top Iraqi military commander and occupied Iraq, refusing to withdraw U.S. troops from Iraq. He expanded the war on Yemen, brutally bombing Yemen. He expanded the war in Afghanistan. He boasted of selling offensive weapon systems to Ukraine.
Excuse me, I didn't. I'm the one that gave Ukraine offensive weapons and tank killers. Obama didn't. You know what he sent? He sent pillows and blankets.
He backed a coup attempt in Venezuela and waged economic war against Venezuela.
Venezuela. How about we're buying oil from Venezuela? When I left, Venezuela was ready to collapse. We would have taken it over. We would have gotten all that oil. It would have been right next door.
He backed a violent coup in Bolivia that overthrew Bolivia's elected government. He waged a trade war against China, and he even boasted of leaving U.S. troops in Syria to take its oil.
And then they say he left troops in Syria. You know what I did? I left troops to take the oil. I took the oil. The only troops I have are taking the oil.
So that was Donald Trump during his first term as U.S. president. Well, now he's coming back to the White House in January 2025. And what is he pledging to do in his second term? Again, very interventionist, hawkish policies. It's the opposite of isolationism. Donald Trump is threatening multiple countries, including he wants to colonize Panama and take over the Panama Canal in a blatant violation of the sovereignty of the Central American nation. Donald Trump also wants to expand the U.S. empire and take over Greenland, which is an autonomous territory. It was a colony of Denmark, and it has a large indigenous population. They do not want to be a colony of anyone. They want their own sovereignty. Trump and his nominees are discussing plans to invade Mexico, the U.S. southern neighbor, another blatant violation of sovereignty. And Trump is even talking about potentially annexing Canada and making it the 51st U.S. state. Now, Trump supporters claim this is a joke. It's not serious. But he's threatening the northern and southern neighbors of the U.S. He's threatening China. He's threatening Iran. This is the opposite of isolationism. This is extreme imperialism.
All right. Ben Norton laying it out a little more there for you. All right. Well, I hope this program was somewhat enlightening, somewhat informative, somewhat entertaining. Much more to be said about all of this, but I don't have time to do it today. So I'm going to have to come back tomorrow and we'll, do the whole thing all over again. So thanks everyone for hanging out. Good to see you here. Thanks for being here. Thanks for chatting and talking and giving me your 2 cents worth. Thanks for hanging out, Rockfinners, Rumblers, everybody else. Appreciate you. See you tomorrow, and until next time, peace.